Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to What Do You Say? I'm your host, Frank Termini. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so that we can update you on any new content. And today we are promoting Andrew Ross Termini Foundation, Nina's Wings, Ope's Charitable Fund, and we have Kim Fry. Fry, right? That's how you say. Okay.
Yep.
We have Kim Fry. And so your family is one of the people who we are donating to this year. So a little bit about Ope's Charitable Fund, and we'll probably talk about this on Friday when Chuck's here, but that all started when Chuck's dad was diagnosed with, I think he had leukemia. And so we started doing fundraisers to surround the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And then Andrew Ross Termini is my son who passed 2 weeks after his 5th birthday to a brain tumor. And so in 2000, this was back in 2000, he passed. And then in 2015, we had 2 people in the community get diagnosed with cancer. And so we was like, hey, we want to do something. So we put the 501c3 together, and we've been doing it ever since. We had to take a little break around COVID.
We all did, yep.
Yeah, we packed 48 lanes at North Kansas City Bowling Alley with 6 people per lane. So 6, 240 and 48, 288 bowlers. That doesn't even count how many people just came to the event.
Yeah.
I mean, it was packed. It was a great event. And it sickens me that they had to shut that bowling alley down. And then we started doing the poker tournament. And then in June of 2021, we lost my stepdaughter, Nina, to fentanyl. And that was the genesis of Nina's Wings. And so Nina's Wings, through Rob, have you met Rob?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm actually going to have Rob come back on the podcast. He's been on.
Good.
But he has a foundation called Grace. And Grace stands for Giving Recovering Addicts a Chance at Evolving. And so I remember so Nina had gotten out of rehab, and she had passed away about 10 days later. And my wife and I, after the storm, if the storm ever settles, but we were sitting around and we were thinking, people who battle addiction, they don't have a chance. They insurance companies kick them out of rehab way too soon. Mm-hmm. And we were like, there has to be some type of medium between rehab and community reintegration. Well, come to find out, there was. We just didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And so these Oxford houses are where recovering addicts can go while they're trying to get themselves reintegrated back into the community, and there's a support system for them. And so Grace funds Oxford houses, and we are going to help fund Grace. So, perfect. But I wanted to talk with you because this is a unique situation that you guys are in.
Yeah.
So how many kids do you have?
I have 2.
2 kids.
Yep.
And so your first one,
Addie, is 9, and she was healthy.
And then the other one?
And Charlie is 7, and he was born with a genetic disease.
Okay, and so tell me the name of the genetic disease again.
Yes, it's SLC6A1.
And that stands for, we know?
It's literally the name of the gene.
So that's the name of the gene.
Yep.
Okay, so let me just do some Google real quick. SLC
6A1.
6A 6 Apple 1.
Yep.
It's a genetic condition affecting the brain characterized by a range of neurological symptoms, primarily intellectual disability, epilepsy, developmental delays caused by a mutation in that gene, which encodes the GABA transporter protein, crucial for regulating neurotransmitter GABA. Okay. All right. So did you know this in utero?
No, gosh, no. No, we thought he was healthy all the way until 4 months old. We had no idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's born.
He's born.
You
Healthy
see
pregnancy.
nothing.
No.
No abnormalities, no nothing.
No, nothing.
And then at 4 months old, what do you start to notice?
So he starts having tremors. So he would just sit on our lap and his whole upper body would just start shaking. And we would be home, just our family, just watching TV, talking, and he would just shake. It looked like a little baby with Parkinson's disease.
Okay. So he had a resting tremor.
Yes.
But the resting tremor wasn't fine motor. It was gross. The whole body was shaking.
It was.
So it wasn't like just his hands would shake like a Parkinson's patient.
I have videos of his little head just doing little shakes and the whole thing. Yeah.
Like he was shivering.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
And so that was your first.
That was our first sign that something was wrong. And I worked at a medical school actually at the time. So I started showing all the doctors the videos and everyone's like, this isn't right, but we don't know what this is. Didn't look like a clear seizure, but it was obviously not healthy. So then we started seeing neurology and then we found out lots of things. At this point we realized.
So wait, so you don't go to your primary care first.
We go to our primary care first.
And then they refer you to a neurologist.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And so you go to a neurologist and the neurologist says what?
Neurologist
And here's my next question. Is he able to demonstrate this, the baby, Charlie, in front of the neurologist?
Absolutely, yeah.
He is doing that. Okay.
At the first 2 years of his life, he tremored every day, multiple times a day. So we would go out for ice cream as a family and he would be shaking in his stroller and strangers would walk up to us and say, is your baby okay? Like it was so visible that.
And this is at how old?
This is at 6 months.
Okay. And kids and people are saying, hey, is everything all right?
Yeah,
they're noticing.
Everyone's noticing you see a baby just physically shake and it catches you off guard. But every family member, everyone saw it.
Okay.
And then we saw neurology. And
so what's their first diagnostic?
They don't know.
So they don't even know whether to do blood work, an MRI. They don't know what the hell to do.
So the first instinct is always to do genetic testing at this point.
So they immediately do a genetic. Did they do like a karyotype?
So actually, insurance denies it.
Of course they
Insurance denied it for almost 2 years. So
And how much is the karyotype out of pocket?
The main one you need to do is whole exome, and that's $10,000 out of pocket. There are 2 other ones.
Yeah, because a karyotype's only probably going to tell you if you have trisomies or monosomies of like Down syndromes.
Yes, yeah, and that you can do early, but
that's not going to tell you anything.
We didn't do that, and that's not what we were looking for. We were looking for some kind of neurological likely seizure disorder. The insurance declined it. And so, but they approved an MRI. And at this point, he's almost a year old and they'll do an MRI, put him under anesthesia.
Yeah, they got to knock him out.
Yeah. Which is very dangerous for a 1-year-old.
Sure.
But as a parent, you're desperate, you want answers. So
Frankie George had to get put to sleep because he had trigger thumb and luckily the procedure took about 20 minutes. Yeah. But when they got to get put to sleep,
it's scary.
It's
just scary as
when
a
they
parent,
take your baby away from you to go put him to sleep. That is a vulnerable situation for sure.
Unfortunately, this was just the beginning of us having to do that a lot. So the MRI happened, that came back normal. Then he started missing every milestone. Couldn't use his hands. He was a year before he could get something to his mouth, like food or a rattle or anything. He could not use his hands. Because
he couldn't grasp, or because he couldn't get it to his.
The combination.
He couldn't do both.
He didn't have the motor planning. He couldn't really grasp, and then he didn't have the motor planning to tell his hands how to work. So he would look at his hands like, I know these are supposed to do something, but it's almost like they weren't connected to his brain, and he didn't know how to tell him what to do.
Got it.
And so at that point, at 9 months, he started.
And at this point, you still don't know shit.
I don't know shit. I know nothing. I know something's wrong with my child, but I don't know what. And we are seeing one of the best neurologists here in Kansas City.
Tell me how that affects you and your husband's ability to function mentally. How are you guys able to not be consumed by this?
Oh, I was and am still consumed by his disease. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially
when you don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nobody can give you any
knows.
answers.
And you think you go to a doctor and they're going to tell you what's wrong with your child and you're going to get a treatment and you're going to, know what to do.
And so now you're
nobody knows.
blindly just doing probably PT, OT, speech.
Yes.
Did he have trouble swallowing?
He did not have trouble swallowing, so we were lucky there. But he failed every test. So we did in Missouri, you can do Missouri First Steps if you don't meet certain qualifications. And at 10 months old, they put him at a 4-month-old in development. And everything. I mean, but somehow he did walk on time. So that was crazy. Yeah, he walked on time. But everything fine motor was really delayed. And then
Gross motor was okay. Fine motor
It was delayed, but not horribly.
Okay.
Fine motor still our struggle today.
So like writing.
Writing is horrible. Yeah, writing is horrible. Opening doors,
If he tried to put a key in a lock, he'd probably have a hard time with it.
Yeah, he just learned to zip his coat. I'm sure, though, now with summer, we might lose that skill because you're not practicing it. Yeah, he's 7 now, and he still can't really open lunch baggies. I have to open all his chips, just everyday little things.
What about, his ability to speak?
Yes, so he did not really start speaking till he was 2. We put him in speech therapy at 18 months. We started him at Ability KC a little after his second birthday.
Yeah.
Amazing facility.
Yeah.
I feel like we owe them so much. He started really taking off his speech about 2.5, 3, and now he's fully verbal.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it is good. He can speak. Yeah, a lot of our kids can't.
Because I think about people, I know some people who have autistic kids that are nonverbal.
Yeah.
And to not hear your child tell you, I love you.
It's devastating. Yeah. I remember worrying that.
That's something I always think about. To not, or if something's bothering them and they can't tell you and you have to guess.
Well, that's when behavior becomes super life-changing too. And we have struggled with that. So he now has words, but he doesn't always understand what he should say and how to say it. And he does have an autism diagnosis now.
So he's got or symptoms of autism, or it's autism.
They give all of our kids basically an autism diagnosis, but they have symptoms of it due to the gene mutation. Yeah.
I'm wondering if autistic kids have a gene mutation at the same spot.
Most. So yes, that absolutely. So researchers now have found that there are probably 3,000 kids born a year with this disease, and we only know of 500 worldwide today that have been diagnosed. So many autistic kids and kids with epilepsy likely could have this disease or something similar. So researchers will tell you they believe autism is likely genetic in 90% of kids.
Okay.
We just don't know because insurance will fight you on it. So
and unless you have
back
10K,
to that, which we didn't pay for it. So we were debating. So we got denied, appealed it, got denied. Then Charlie started turning purple, and we've had things where he would just turn completely purple, and I thought he was gonna pass out. So rushed him to the hospital twice. Eventually they admitted him. We were able to get 1 round of genetic. There's really 3 to 4 rounds of testing you could do. We got 1 approved by insurance that came back negative, or they didn't find anything. Then he was admitted to the hospital. They did a 24-hour controlled fast to see if it was blood sugar related. And at 23 hours, his blood sugar crashed. So at 24 hours, they call it a failed study. At 23 hours, they were like, all right, maybe he's got some blood sugar issues. But we were able to get a round of genetic testing.
Hold on, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. A controlled fast. Tell me.
24 hours, no food.
So what are they using the verbiage controlled for?
Because it's in a hospital and
they're monitoring him.
They're monitoring
his blood sugar. Okay. And so they're saying
this is
if his blood sugar crashes prior to 24 hours, he
has some type of blood sugar issue. So he was diagnosed with
hypoglycemia. Okay.
Now
So they're saying that his blood sugar should be able to be regulated without food for 24 hours.
Yes.
And since it can't, they're saying he's hypoglycemic, at least.
Yes. Yeah. And then, but that allowed us. So by the grace of God, our genetic counselor just looked at his file that day and said, he's admitted in the hospital. If you're admitted, usually you can get genetic testing done. So they called in for the genetic testing.
So they figured out a way to admit him.
He needed to be admitted. He was purple and passing out.
What the shit was that? So tell me what was causing that then, because to me, I'm thinking he's not breathing.
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't really know. Everyone thinks that was maybe a false diagnosis. We don't know because it happened a few times and then it just stopped. His body and brain is so weird. But so we were able to get some genetic testing approved that time. That came back negative. And then it came to, all right, if we want the final test, it's 10 grand. And my husband and I were debating, like, do we come up with 10 grand? What do we do? Do we sell a car? Do we figure out who has just 10,000?
So now, and then here's the other problem.
And it could still be negative.
That physically, I mean, I don't know how people can deal with it, because now you're talking about financial burden.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I've had kids who are sick, and I've had financial troubles, and both of them will keep you awake.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then so when you're compounding it and you're having financial troubles because you have a sick child, it's like, fucking kill me now.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah. And we're not guaranteed answers.
Right.
Because
so you're going to the crap table with 10,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So luckily, around this time, I take a new job and we switch health insurance to my husband's health insurance. And we get a call that our new insurance has a commitment to the patient, and they have a deal with, it's Blue Cross now, with Blue Cross, that if it's not covered to do genetic testing, they will charge the families $100. So we're like, yes, do it. So they do it. I almost forget about it because we're in a routine now. He's in therapies, blood sugar's not really happening, but we're able to like monitor, always have applesauce on us in case something does start to happen. Like we've kind of found this new, because applesauce will spike your blood sugar up.
Okay, so his blood sugar does drop.
Well, it does at this time, yes.
At this time, and then, okay,
yeah,
all right.
We no longer have that issue.
Okay.
I have no idea how he outgrew that.
Okay.
He also outgrew the tremors. He no longer tremors.
He doesn't tremor and his blood sugar doesn't drop
Yeah.
anymore. Okay.
Yeah. So it's odd, but the early signs that told us something was wrong are no longer a part of our daily life.
How frequently, I'm Googling this too, because you may not know, but I'm looking at the frequency of it.
Of what?
This gene, so it's 1 in 38,000.
But we only know of 500 kids. Only 500 kids have been diagnosed. But that, yeah.
In the United States.
Worldwide.
And the world, so it's way more than 1 in 38,000. Has to be. It has to be way more than that.
But we don't even have 38,000 kids diagnosed. 500.
Well, 1 in 38,000, and there's 500 kids.
Yeah.
So that would indicate, if there's 500 kids diagnosed, hold on, let me do my math. That would mean there's only 19 million kids, right?
Exactly, yeah.
If my math is right, because
which is not accurate.
That's not the case.
Yeah. No, there are
It has to be
hundreds,
way
potentially
more
thousands of kids living with autism and epilepsy
that probably have this diagnosis.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are other gene mutations that present very similarly. So they could be one of 20, but they have a genetic diagnosis. They just don't know. You have to fight insurance. You also have to have a medical doctor and team who are educating and pushing you to go that route.
And so you find out, so after that last genetic test.
Yes, I get a call August 22nd, 2019. I will never forget it. I'm in my office. I get a phone call. And at this point, our doctor's kind of like, I think it's going to be, we had done a spinal tap in between all of this too.
Oh, poor baby.
Yes.
God damn.
Yeah, we had done a spinal tap.
Did you at least put him to sleep for that?
Yeah, they put him to sleep for a spinal tap. Yeah.
Okay.
So they did a spinal tap, hoping to find answers too. That came back negative. So they do this genetic testing, which is literally just blood work for my husband, myself, and Charlie. It's just a prick. That's it. After all these other things, I get a call, and he has SLC6A1, and he's one of, at this time they tell us, he's one of 32 kids in the world. They know nothing about the disease. No one is researching it. And they will learn his life expectancy from him.
Fuck. And
I mean, my world crashed. I meet with a doctor, and this is no longer our doctor, but she says he's not having seizures yet, but he will. So we'll just wait and check in every 4 months and see you when we see you.
and
But
she's
we're
real
just waiting.
apathetic and
Yeah.
cavalier about it,
Yeah,
and you're like, no, that's
and she
not
hands
gonna.
me the report I already found online, the 31 and 32, with like a paragraph, no information other than he's going to be intellectually disabled. He'll have seizures. He may not speak. He'll have movement issues, behavioral issues, just the gamut. And I'm just sent home. And it is the worst day of my life. But they weren't right, actually. So in some ways. So I Googled, and I'm like, there has to be a clinical trial. There cannot be nothing happening. Somebody has to be researching. And luckily, 6 months before our diagnosis, a mom at the time was in Colorado, in Denver. She received the same diagnosis for her son, and she quit her job and started a foundation and stocked scientists and now had a scientist working on it. So I connected with her, and I was like, well, what can I do? Like, I'm going to do something. Like, I'm not going to sit here and just wait. Like, I want to be a part of this. She actually didn't believe me. She was like, yeah, everyone says that, but it's, whatever. She was working on gene therapy.
So you reached out to her?
Yeah. And I immediately started I put a Facebook post out and did a fundraiser for the foundation that she had started, which is SLC6A1, and we raised over 30,000, I think, 30,000 that first fundraiser. So I was like, okay, I can do this. They needed millions of dollars. I've never raised millions of dollars, but I'm an event planner and I'm in marketing, so I can plan events. I'll figure it out. So I just joined forces with her, and we've raised probably over $2 million here in Kansas City the last 5 years. And now so our goal is gene therapy, which would be a spinal tap, but it would put in a good copy of the faulty gene, and in theory,
symptoms would go away.
Yes, it is novel, so it's hard to know what's exactly going to look like, but that's our best hope. So right now we're treating all the symptoms. We're treating autism, we're treating behavior, we're treating seizures. He's in every therapy. He's in ABA therapy.
What's ABA?
Behavioral therapy.
Okay.
Our biggest challenge is behavior.
Tell me what his behaviors are.
Yeah. So he is pretty OCD, and he lashes out a lot. So pretty aggressive.
You're kind of describing me.
Yeah. But he's been kicked out of multiple schools at 7. We finally have found him in a good school. Ability was great, but he aged out. Finding resources for him. But he's also this like loving, sweet human, but he just will start hitting and kicking. He rages, throws things, and then he'll come out of it.
So he's incredibly volatile.
Yeah.
What's his X factor? What triggers it?
Yeah. Denied access is a huge trigger.
Okay.
And he just doesn't understand. And the autism piece of his brain, he feels like the world is happening to him. He feels wronged all the time.
Right.
Can't have candy for breakfast. That could be a trigger. So we have had to completely change the way we parent. Can't parent my daughter the way I parent him.
No.
Yeah. So I've had.
And the problem is you have a 9-year-old who's watching you potentially, because I know this happens where you're like, I can't fight him right now.
Yeah.
I know this is going to trigger what do we want to call it? Temper.
We do stand our ground, but we make a lot of compromises. So he has to take medicine 4 times a day, which is horrible for a 7-year-old.
Oh, dude.
4
horrible
times a
for
day.
you guys.
It'd be horrible for everybody, yes. And we've had to play a lot with meds. But he's on 4 meds right now.
What's he taking?
He takes a seizure med. He's in our foundation. We have funded a clinical trial for a seizure med, and he is seizure free on this med.
What's the med?
Ravicti.
Okay.
It is the most expensive drug in the
Of course
U.S.
it is.
$800,000 a year, and we get it free through our trial. but the trial ends the end of this year, so I don't know what's going to happen there.
Well, if you're showing progress, I'd have to think the insurance company would have to pick it up.
One would
I don't
hope.
know, not have to. I mean, they don't
Yeah.
have to do anything.
They don't have to do anything.
That's
One
not
would
going to
hope.
make them money.
We'll see. Yeah, doesn't make them any money.
And so
So he's on that med.
$800,000 a year. Why? Why?
Greed. I don't know. There's no reason. It's going off label, and it'll go down to like 500,000.
It's still astronomical.
It's crazy. Yeah, everyone involved has made their money
That's
back.
$40,000 a month.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, every little vial we have is $2,500. So when I give it to somebody to give to him, I'm like, this is a lot of money. Don't break this glass bottle.
Oh.
Yeah, and that one's like an oil consistency, so it's like taking olive oil.
And he takes it orally?
Orally, yes. 3 times a day he takes that one. He takes, and then he's on a anti-anxiety med, Lexapro. He has really bad anxiety. He just like rapidly asks the same questions over and over again, and so it's calmed his brain a little and helped with some anxiety, but he has really bad anxiety.
Because you got to give him something that doesn't snow him.
Yeah.
Like you can't give him like a benzodiazepine or something.
No,
for
and he's
that.
7, so you have to be careful with what. And he's on 2 other behavioral meds that lots of meds interact with. So he's on risperidone, which is an antipsychotic, and that helps with his impulse control and his rage. And then he's also on amantadine, which is a random movement drug that plays well with risperidone that helps with impulse control. Like he used to, before he was on these meds, he'd see these water bottles and he would just open them and dump them on the ground. He just had to. Every time we would go to restaurants, he would just walk up to people's tables, grab their drinks and throw them. He'd grab strangers' phones and run and throw them into the trash. He just like could not control himself. And there's no ill intent. There's no like, and we'd leave and he'd be like happy as could be, and he has no idea why he did it.
And does he even know that he did do it?
Yeah.
He does.
He could talk about how he did it, and he'd be happy. He'd be like, I punched Addie today, and he'd be smiling, and like his face doesn't match what's
coming out of his
Yeah.
mouth. Right. You would expect someone saying that's
But he's also this incredibly lovable kid. Like he loves to hold hands. So every time we walk, he holds hands, and he'll connect to people really fast, adults specifically, but he'll say like, I miss you the moment, like he'll hang out with you for 10 minutes and he'll be like, bye, I'll miss you. And he's a funny kid, and he's really good at like math. He's super smart at math. He's got all these positive things too, but the world's not created for a kid like him.
It's a difficult diagnosis for sure.
Yeah. And the looks and the way strangers can treat him and the names he's been called in public, and
talk to me about that.
Yeah, that's really hard. We've twice experienced people calling him the R word. And he doesn't know what it means. He doesn't.
So you are out and about,
and he jumps up and down and he flaps when he's excited. And a kid called him that once, and then another time at the pool, until this summer, he was still wearing floaties, and he's a big kid. He's 60 pounds. He's as big as his sister and her friends, and they're 3 grades older than him. And so he's still wearing floaties, and some kids were making fun of him and called him the R word.
And so how do you handle that as a mom?
Ugh.
Do you deal with the kids, or do you go to the parents?
Actually, you know what? The amount of shame and like protection you feel for your kid, I have both times have shut down and not dealt with it at all. Just removed Charlie from the situation. My husband one time said to a kid, "What did you say?" And he lied and walked away. And then the kid was at the pool without parents. So we didn't do anything about it. Both times we just left. It's hard. Like,
listen, it's very easy to sit in my shoes and say, I'd have done this and I'd have done that and I'd have done this. But you know what? I could see where it would break you.
Yeah.
It would break you.
Yeah. You're caught off guard. Both times have been caught off guard. Because one was the first time it happened. I was like, are we sure we heard that right? Did that really happen? Like, you second guess yourself. You're in your head about it. Them and their parents were staring at Charlie the entire time. We were in Florida, where I feel like the word is probably used a lot more commonly. So I also just didn't need my husband getting in a fight with these parents. I saw that one going a really bad place, so we just left the pool. The second time, it was in our community. It wasn't someone we knew, but it was here in Kansas City. It was somewhere unexpected, and I just you break and
I could see where
yeah,
where you could do one of two things. You want to go into the closet and cry, or come out like a savage and start a fucking riot.
Yeah,
I could see both things.
And both are kids. What do? We yell at a kid? Like,
I mean, yeah, you could very well do that when you really want to just say, go get your parents now.
Because where did they learn that? They didn't learn. Kids, generally people aren't using that
well,
word
and
anymore.
at the end of the day, like you should, like if the parents are there, they should at least say, tell your kids, get over here. Don't look, don't stare, go play. You know what I mean? Something. I don't care what it is. Or here, go engage them. Go do that. You know, go ask him what his name is. Go,
People don't, I mean, he doesn't have a physical diagnosis, but I can only imagine how people with a child who is missing a limb, or they have some kind of deformation.
My nephew don't have a limb.
Yeah.
My nephew doesn't have his right hand, but I mean.
But people probably stare at him all the time.
I don't remember it happening. You know, the craziest thing.
It's great.
Because of how fun, like here, Giorgio he just won the Brian Piccolo Award.
It's amazing.
And so a lot of times people wouldn't notice it because he was acting like any other kid and doing whatever he wanted to do. I mean, here, Giorgio was 6 months old and with one hand climbing out of his crib.
That's wild.
Right? I mean,
yeah, he's overcome a lot. Yeah.
Like he can do bench press and he balances the damn bar on it's a fist, right? And so you can't tell that. It's the craziest thing.
It's amazing.
And so a lot of times people, I don't remember. Now my sister may be able to tell you more stories about it, but I don't remember. He was just so high functioning.
Yeah. So Charlie doesn't look it. So that's our challenge. He doesn't look. You look at him. He's a cute, beautiful little boy who.
But you can immediately see something's not right.
If you spend more than 5 minutes, a couple minutes, you'll know. He is really repetitive, says the same thing. He comes off autistic, but you don't see the seizures or anything very often. We don't have very many of those. We do have a couple breakthroughs a year, and those are really scary.
Seizures?
Yeah.
Are they grand mal?
No, they're absence, which are staring spells.
Michelle had one of those. That's some scary shit.
Their brain turns off.
She was stoic. You can't even imitate the face that they make.
They're dead inside.
Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. I say it's like a computer rebooting.
It is terrifying.
The last one Charlie had, he had fallen asleep in the car, and I think sleep must trigger them for him. We've never been able to capture one on an EEG because that's like a short little period of time where you're looking at their brain. But his EEGs are messy. They're clearly abnormal. They're not clean.
Michelle had to have an EEG, an MRI, an MRA. Everything came back negative. Yeah. They're not even sure what she had was a seizure.
Interesting.
They're not saying it. They will not refer to it as a seizure. They kept referring to it as an event.
An event, yeah. We have that too, where the whole community argues unless they can see the spike clearly in the EEG, they won't call it one. But every neurologist who looks at Charlie's, I take videos every time. And so the last one, he fell asleep in the car, and then I picked him up and took him inside, and his eyes were rolling in the back of the head. I cannot wake him up, like 5 minutes. So this is like a recovery from a seizure. And the other ones, he'll just like stare off into the space. You'll pinch him. He can't respond, nothing.
Yeah, so I remember Michelle, she was sitting there staring at the TV, and she had a drink in her hand, and it was kind of tipping.
Yeah.
And I said, babe, you're going to spill that drink. And I get up, and I'm doing some stuff around the house. I can't remember. And I turn around, she's in the exact same spot. I said, babe, you're going to spill that drink.
She doesn't hear you. She can't hear you.
She's not moving. So finally, I walk over to her. I grab the drink. I set it down on the table, and she still doesn't move. And I'm like, babe, right?
That's terrifying.
And so I grabbed my hand, I put it on the back of her head, and I just turned her head toward me, and she looked right through me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just so
The lights aren't
terrifying.
on.
And so I'm thinking, is it stroke? Is it seizure?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't want to waste time because if it is a stroke,
You got to get.
I want her to get treated immediately.
Yeah.
And so immediately call 911. Now, I don't let my kids know what's going on. They're all in their rooms. Right. They're all in their rooms.
But you don't want to scare them. I get it.
And so I'm in this horrible catch-22. And so all of a sudden the damn ambulance pulls up. Frankie George, why is there ambulance here? And now all the kids,
Has
I'm
she
like,
come out of it? At this
no.
point?
Does it?
That's long. That's long.
Here. She didn't come out of it until she got into the ambulance. She started to come out of it. And so and my kids are frantic. They're terrified.
Of course.
And I'm terrified. And I'm trying to stay calm.
Of course.
Externally.
Yeah.
But internally.
Yeah. You're a disaster.
I'm a disaster.
Yeah.
I'm a disaster. I'm
no way not
internally,
to.
I'm screaming, I'm crying, I'm terrified. And so when I got to the hospital, she had started coming out of it. The EMT guy came and told me. But when I went back there, the craziest thing, I asked him, I said, have you guys given her anything? And she said, no. She seemed like she was drugged. What she looked like when she started to come out of it was someone coming out of anesthesia.
Yeah. It's their brain rebooting. Like, it's like their brain literally like stops. Like if you restart your computer and it takes a minute, I feel like it's like that.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And then for the next 3 days, she was tired,
fog,
lethargic.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then she couldn't drive for 6 months, which was brutal.
Oh yeah, if you have it, yeah.
Yeah, this was last September. So she
I'm
could.
sorry.
It
That's
happened on September 23rd, and she had to wait till March 23rd to drive. And
I have no idea why. There was no illness or anything surrounding it.
so there was 3 things that she had
Okay.
that contribute to seizure. She had a UTI, didn't know it.
Okay.
She was dehydrated, and she had lack of sleep. All of those can cause an event. She had all 3 of them.
Yeah. That.
And so the fall's a busy time of year for us.
Yeah.
She's a volleyball coach. I'm a football coach.
Yeah.
It's our kids are all in different sports. It's an
Well,
exhausting
and an
time of year.
infection just like kicks into gear if you have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So every time Charlie's sick, we have to watch and be careful because those trigger him too.
She's on topiramate, and she hasn't. Thank God.
So they put her on a med.
They put her on a med, but they put her on a med because when she went to the neurologist, she was complaining of having persistent headaches. She had been complaining of. I was treating her for headaches every single night up until that seizure. And the topiramate, they didn't necessarily give her for seizures. They gave it to her for headaches.
But it also
And it just. Oh, by the way, this is a medicine that we would use to treat a seizure as well.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
That's
so,
good then. Yeah.
Yeah,
That is strange.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, he's ambulatory, he talks, and he has issues with fine motor skills.
Cognitive too.
And cognitive issues.
Very delayed.
And so you guys are in every type of therapy. What did you have to make any type of modifications to the home to accommodate his functional mobility?
No, we haven't. Do
you need to?
We
Is it
need,
something
we
you
need to do our basement and make it padded. We need a padded room for him so he can play and get his anger out. But no, we haven't done anything.
You ought to go get a punching bag.
I know we have one, but I need
Just let
like
him wail away
a
on that.
good one that hangs from the ceiling. Yeah.
Let him pound on
I
that
know,
thing when
yeah.
he gets mad.
He gets mad. He just starts. He throws furniture. And he's getting big and strong, so it's definitely dangerous.
Yeah.
But we try and keep going at different therapies and different behavior. We have a behavioralist on once a week, and she literally has changed the way we interact and respond to everything he does, which has been helpful, but it's still never.
And so the monies that will be raised from this year's fundraiser.
Yes. Everything we raise, this year's fundraiser included, everything goes to the gene therapy. So we are single focused.
This is all it all goes to research.
Yes. Yep. And development of a drug or a treatment. Yes. We are 100% committed and focused to that because I do not see a life where Charlie lives outside of either my home or some kind of medical home when he's older. And I'm not ready to commit to that lifestyle.
You probably won't ever be.
Yeah, unless we have gene therapy. If we have gene therapy, there is a lot of hope that he could live a normal life. It's our only chance. In my head, it's our only chance. And that's really heavy because what happens? I mean, I likely don't outlive him.
Hopefully not. Hopefully you hold on, wait a second.
There's no way to say
Let me re-say that. I said that
horrible.
wrong.
I know.
You want to outlive him. You don't want to bury him.
I don't want to bury my son.
No.
But also, who cares for him when I'm gone? And
that's a burden.
It's
a burden that you and your husband have to think about, and it's something
every day.
that you have to make sure that you can finance for your daughter when you guys are gone.
And I will tell you, I don't want my daughter to have this life.
Sure.
I want her to have a family. I want her to have her. She's amazing. She uses ABA tools on him herself. She's so patient, and she does school projects. They had to make an invention, and she made an EEG cap for kids like Charlie that could just go on without having to do the wires because he's very sensory sensitive and he hates when they put the wires on his head. So she is always thinking about, like, how can I make Charlie's life better? And she's amazing. But she has her moments, and it's hard, and she's 9.
And it's not fair.
And it's not
fair. It sucks. It's not fair.
And he and I travel to see, we have to travel to see the experts in Dallas and Denver once a year. And I miss so much of her stuff. And he needs 24/7 care. He is not able.
And she is probably so independent.
So independent. She's a little adult. She helps me when he freaks out about his medicine. She'll be like, Charlie, do you want me to do the choo-choo train? And she'll come and she'll give him his medicine. It's like the sweetest, cutest thing ever. But I don't want her to be a caregiver. No. It is the hardest thing I've ever done. And it's taken so much from our life. He's given us so much. So it's like this catch-22, he's given me so much and he's changed me, and my patience is wild how patient I can get. The other day he punched me in the face and the eye, and I just went, hurt, and then went right back to it. Like, right. I never would have imagined I'd be that person who can handle it, but I can, and I have to. I have no choice, but I don't want her to. I don't want her to have to do that. So gene therapy is my only hope.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to talk about hope from a biblical sense, it is a confident expectation. And so confidently expect that the money's raised is going to go to something that, don't put God in a box. I mean, that's the only thing I could say. It's a big God. He can do a lot of things. And, when we're obedient, and we step out in faith, which is what you have done with your foundation and what I've done with mine, and so many other people who do engage in philanthropy. I mean, you got to just say, here, listen, I'm going to put this in your hands. And
that's hard.
Ooh,
it's hard.
Listen, you are so preaching to the choir. I know. But I'm talking about even like your money. I'm putting my money, my finances, my family, my relationships, and I'm going to put that into your hands, and I'm going to let you do with it what you do with it. And it is, I'm not saying that I'm good at it.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, I'm not saying I'm good at surrendering to that, because I'm not.
Yeah.
I could tell you what
sure.
You're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But you also will be burdened with anxiety if you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't surrender it, I mean, yeah, you have to act, right? But you also have to surrender the result to him. Because, I mean, this is listen, I'm glad that Andrew Ross Germany, Nina's Rings, Opes can help and contribute. I am.
I'm so appreciative.
I hope we raise $200,000. I'm going to attach a link to this podcast so that people could go in and click it and they could donate online. The event is on July the 19th. It's awesome. We have a great time. We play poker, we eat, we get drunk. It's fun. It is a fun event. It really is. We've had a great time. We've done it for 2 years. When we did it in July back in 2023, it was a huge event. And then we did it in November last year. We didn't get as good of a turnout because
Holiday time.
it's terrible time to do it, but
It's
it's
hard.
just the way it fell.
Yeah.
This year again, I am expecting a huge turnout, and so I'm excited. It's family friendly. Bring your kids. All mine will be there running around at Oak Ridge. And what else do we want to say?
You know, I'll add one thing. So, gene therapy sounds like this make-believe thing, but
Well, they're using it for cancer now.
They're using it. So I do want, like, we are close. We have multiple gene therapies in the works, and like we're getting ready to do a monkey study on one of them. So we are close. It is a possibility. It is an option. So every dollar, 100% goes directly to that cause and helping us make a difference. And it's not only going to potentially help Charlie, it's going to help all kids with this disease, but also the trickle-down effect for rare disease, that one gene being cured, it helps the next one. They all, the invention, the creativity, it can help a lot of sick kids.
Sure. And here, you're talking about paralleling autism.
Yeah.
How many kids with autism have defects in this gene and they don't even know it?
They don't know it. I know.
So at the end of the day, this could help a lot of people, and I'm excited to be a small part of it. And if there's anything else we could do, please let us know.
No, you're doing amazing work. Thank you so much. What you do for communities like ours and so many others, and Grace, and all of it is just great. It's wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.